A nervous peace in West Asia, a reignited US-Russia rivalry and a pandemic that refuses to be crushed. It was the storm that China was waiting for, the perfect distraction to strike in the South China Sea again. And this time, they have outdone themselves. China has waded into uncharted territory near Malaysia. Now, this is a country with warm relations with Beijing. Yes, there are maritime disputes, but they're not descended into conflict. Until Monday, that is. 16 Chinese jets flew dangerously close to Malaysia's coast. They were just off the Borneo Island, which is a fiercely contested piece of land. But China and Malaysia have both China and Malaysia have overlapping claims here. Now, this is the fleet that intruded into Malaysia. From these pictures, they look like transport planes. On their tail, you can clearly see the Chinese flag. These 16 planes approached Malaysia in a tactical formation. They were 60 nautical miles off the coast, flying at a height of 27,000 feet when the Malaysian radars picked them up. Now, this is usually the altitude at which a commercial airliner would fly. But these were not commercial planes. They were PLA aircraft. How did Malaysia respond? First, they tried reaching out to the Chinese, asked the planes to pull back several times, no luck. The Chinese planes refused to identify themselves, so Malaysia scrambled jets of their own. This spooked the Chinese planes, and they flew off without attempting any more adventures. Now, if you analyze the series of events, it's a typical Chinese tactic. Intrude on foreign land, ignore requests to pull back, and flee when met with a strong response. The only thing that was missing was a bogus explanation from the Foreign Ministry of China. But don't worry, 2 days later, Beijing has delivered. It claims the sorties were a routine activity not targeted at any country, especially not Malaysia. Listen in.
As far as I know, this is a routine training activity carried out by the PLA Air Force in the southern waters of the Nansha Islands. It was not targeted at any country. During the training, the Chinese Air Force strictly abided by the provisions of international law and did not enter the airspace of any other country. China has communicated with Malaysia on this issue.
You see, for China, there is no territory dispute. They claim the entire South China Sea. So from Beijing's standpoint, there has been no violation, no breach of airspace. But Malaysia is having none of it. Their foreign minister has called this an intrusion. Here's their statement, full statement. Malaysia's stand is clear. Having friendly diplomatic relations with any countries does not mean that we will compromise our national security. Malaysia remains steadfast in defending our dignity and our sovereignty. So how is the government planning to respond? Well, they have already summoned the Chinese ambassador. The plan is to register a diplomatic protest. And we all know how the story ends. With China ignoring Malaysia's concerns, the Philippines, we know, tried the same strategy. They have registered more than 70 protests against China. But they have nothing to show for it. They still have dozens of PLA vessels sailing right next door. So good luck to Malaysia. Like we said at the start, this intrusion is different. China and Malaysia are not enemy states. In fact, Malaysia is one of the few countries using China's Sinovac vaccine. Talk about betrayal. Chinese planes ferry vaccines to Malaysia and hot on their tails. PLA jets threaten Malaysia's airspace. There's a lesson here for all countries looking to cozy up to China. You are signing up for an unprincipled friendship. It reminds me of what Henry Kissinger once said. He was talking about America, but it applies perfectly to communist China. It may be dangerous to be China's enemy, but to be China's friend is fatal. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.